Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Skipworthy Cinema. My name is Cody, and your other host is also here, Dallin.
I am Dallin, and I sound pretty good now. I don't sound like a reject that just found a mic anywhere podcasting.
We have upgraded Dallin's mic, and so now we are comparable sound quality, which is nice. That's good.
I know you won't have to mute every time I talk and be like, "Oh, Cody's talking. We can listen." Dallin's talking. Mute. Don't want to hear that. It's simple bliss.
We are so happy that you guys have joined us, and especially for those people that have joined us for our previous 2 episodes, Cats and Super Mario Brothers, the movie. Both of those were very bad. And worse than this one, actually. We'll get into that. But
well, at least Mario Brothers didn't give me nightmares like Cats. Holy crap.
So yeah, and also thank you to everybody that sent us suggestions. We've gotten probably 50 plus suggestions from everyone all over the place, and we are so happy about it. We are like, we've been watching some trailers, and it's
So at first, when we started this, and we've been getting fan involvement, we're like, "Oh my gosh, we're so excited! People are giving us suggestions, and we're ecstatic!" And then we started watching the trailers, and I'm like, "What are we getting ourselves into?" Because I've seen how bad some of these look, and I'm like, I've like looking at Cats and Mario Brothers, and heck, even this one, I'm just like, I've just wasted about 6 hours of my life that I can't get back.
This is like a dang chore. Like, I was putting this off all week. I did not want to watch this.
Yeah, Cody had watched them before me, but then I watched it before him. I'm like, "Oh, have you watched what?" Nope. Not yet. Nope. Nope. I'll get to it. Nope. And this is the next day. Yeah, Cody, for some strange reason, he didn't put off Cats. He put off this one.
So. No, yeah, I did. The last second I was watching this. And as you know already, this is Ghost Rider, the 2007 movie starring Nicolas Cage. Dallin's going to give us like the IMDb rundown, synopsis, cast, stuff like that. So take it away.
All right, this is your synopsis. Years ago, motorcycle stuntman Johnny Blaze, Nicolas Cage, sold his soul to save the life of a loved one. Now he transforms into a fiery, avenging, this is before Avengers, mind you, avenging agent of justice at night wherever evil roams. And no, this isn't Batman. As the only one who can walk in both worlds, Johnny is charged by Mephistopheles? Is that what his name? Mephistopheles?
I think it's Mephistopheles.
Mephistopheles.
Magical mist of Mephistopheles.
And yeah, people, I went to school. I can't speak right. I'll call him Mephisto for short.
Just say the devil.
I don't know why they don't call him the devil.
He's the actual devil.
Johnny is charged by the devil himself to destroy Blackheart, a demon that wants to overthrow the devil and create a worse hell than the one that currently exists.
I don't know who's the guy that played Blackheart, because in my head, he reminds me of?
It's Wes Bentley.
I don't know who that is. I've never seen him in anything else. But you know what? I kept thinking the whole time, he reminded me of like Ben Shapiro if he was in Twilight. You know what I mean? Like evil gosh. Ben Shapiro.
Oh, you'll recognize him from the Hunger Games.
Oh, he's the freaking beard guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He's beard guy.
Beard guy. You know what I mean when I say that too. That tells you how awesome.
If you say Hunger Games beard guy, you'll know exactly.
Yeah.
And you know who looks rough here? Nicolas Cage. My goodness.
His picture on IMDb.
It's his cast. So if you look at the cast of Ghost Rider, everyone looks fairly fine. Like even the people that were older in the film look pretty good. Nicolas Cage looks like a zombie. He looks really bad. And he looks pretty good.
Nicolas Cage is part of the reason I think this movie was weird. And we will get into that, obviously.
Well, it's because Nicolas Cage, here's the thing. You say Nicolas Cage and his acting, you always think of the
well, freaking look at this picture behind us. Look at these.
Yeah. But you'd think, oh, is that just for Ghost Rider? No, Nicolas Cage is 11 out of 10 for every film he's in. Every film is 100%. 11 out of 10. He was almost your Superman. Almost.
I can't even imagine that. Like, who's looking at him and going, he's so good, he's amazing. I just don't get it.
Oh, I was ready for the scene where he goes, Luther, what are you doing?
I will say the thing that made me okay. Nicolas Cage plays some version of Nicolas Cage in every movie, but I think the true Nicolas Cage is National Treasure Nicolas Cage. Like I feel like that is actually really good. Like he's actually really good in that movie.
That is the one exception where I'm like, dude, I don't really have any issues with his acting.
He's great. He's a good actor. That's what annoys me. He's actually a good actor, but he just is weird. He's just a weird guy.
Yeah, and he has the talent. He just
he's just weird.
Kind of throws it out the window.
And it's hard to explain because I don't think he's that bad. I just think there's something about him when he's acting that is just not right. I don't know what it is.
Well, and also sorry guys, before we get back into Ghost Rider, he's from this. Was he Texas? He's from Texas, right?
Oh yeah, the accent.
So I don't know why directors think it's a good idea to have Nicolas Cage play someone with a southern or southern-ish accent.
Con Air he had that kind of accent too, and it was not good.
Nicolas Cage can't do a southern accent, and for some strange reason, he's been cast in that role multiple times.
It's true.
Oh, unlock Con Air, and he's from Alabama.
Put down the bunny,
and then half the time it's gone.
This one really came and went. The accent in this movie was like
sometimes. Well, this one it's very subtle. So it's like, yeah. Like half the time, if
the Nicolas Cage voice is just so. It's like if an egg could talk.
let's just say though, like his accent came and gone quite frequently. And when you did hear it, it was very subtle. You look very nice.
You look nice. Yeah, it was like he had to just pick certain words.
But it never meshed. So 11 out of 10, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, he really does not know how to give a halfway performance.
Yeah, please no more Southern accent movies with Nicolas Cage.
Before we dive in more to the plot, there's a very important thing you need to know, and that is that this is a Marvel movie, and that may surprise many people listening to this. But Ghost Rider is actually a pretty well-known, there's a lot of fans. It's like a pretty decently sized part of the Marvel universe.
Got a big following for Ghost Rider.
For the comics. And then obviously this came out before any of the whole current Marvel universe was a thing. And so this obviously is not tied into that. But I think this was one of the last ones that was made before Iron Man. So before Disney bought them out.
So yeah, when you think of Marvel films, you think success. You think of Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans.
They're like the biggest movies in the world. Yeah,
they're just like there's these big names, and we didn't hit there yet. Like Marvel, I mean, maybe we do this one too, but you had films like this one or Daredevil or
exactly.
Elektra, just like they didn't hit. They just didn't.
Even like the older X-Men ones were just not. They didn't hit the mark.
Well, those were Fox. I
know, but I mean, they're still Marvel, and the old Marvel Fantastic properties. Four as well. It's just nothing was quite right.
They have their comic book vibes,
right? That's a good way to put it.
But really, the films that nailed their comic book, the right balance between a good cinema and comic book feels were the Christopher Nolans, because the first one was in 2005. Yep. Batman Begins was good. And didn't we have a couple of the Spider-Mans with Tobey Maguire at this point?
Yeah, that was 2001 was the original Spider-Man.
So those were good, but those were Sony as well. So literally you look at, because
Marvel licensed everything out.
So X-Men was really done by Fox.
Yeah.
And then the Spider-Man was really done by Sony. So you can't really,
and this was Paramount.
And so you can't really look at those and say, that was Marvel. So
that was Marvel.
That was Marvel. But thankfully this was one of the last to really struggle before Marvel really figured out.
Yeah,
hey, I think we know what we're gonna do. Kevin Feige came in, they came with a plan, and there we go.
And in a couple of weird ways, this actually worked as a comic book movie, as a Marvel movie. I texted down while we were watching this, and I said, on paper, this should be a good movie.
The trailer looked good.
The trailer looked great. Yeah. The CGI is decent in a lot of it, especially for the time. It was not half bad.
Just not the skull face.
The plot and the story and the lore was all pretty darn okay. There's nothing wrong with it. And then just something about the execution was just not right. It felt like a fan film almost. Because, well, and this is, I realized after I texted you that the parts that I had a problem with had nothing to do with the plot. It was like the screenplay and the acting and the CG, like parts of the CGI, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized none of that is Marvel's fault. Like Ghost Rider as a property is like cool and it's like it works fine, but tied in with all these other things, it just doesn't work.
Honestly, after I was done with this film, I looked at. Well, I didn't look at myself. I just sat there, just kind of stared off in space, and I was like, you know what? Nicolas Cage was not the worst part of this film, and that's not saying he was good, but that should say something when you're sitting there like Nicolas Cage, 11 out of 10. Well, Alabama's Texas, don't know Southern accent, didn't work. He wasn't the worst part. There was a lot of execution flaws. The acting was like, and here's the thing: you look at the cast; it's actually a good cast.
I thought Eva Mendes was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not. Now that I'm thinking, we'll talk about that actually, because now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know. She didn't do anything significant in this whole movie.
She was literally a plot enforcer. Like she was literally put in to drive the plot rather than like we actually care about her character. So
well, and okay, so starting out,
acting was bad. The acting was bad.
The acting was bad. It was just in general. I felt like there were kind of mediocre performances from just about everybody. As even like I've seen other movies where they're better. Like what's his name, Mac, the assistant guy. I've seen him pretty good.
He's in a lot of films. Yeah,
and I think he's a pretty decent actor too. And
Sam Elliott is in a lot of stuff.
Well, and Sam Elliott's just Sam Elliott. Like he didn't do a bad job, but he also didn't do a particularly great
literally,
job.
They're like, "Hey, Sam, go into your wardrobe, come out and read the script." That's literally what he did. But the problem with that was, Sam Elliott was a writer, was a ghost. That's like I hate subtitles, but I might need them because he has
an amazing voice, but I feel like they didn't even like I did have a hard time understanding some parts of it.
I can understand him. So
yeah.
Before we get into I will say, as far as the acting goes, the worst was the villains. They were so bad because they were so cheesy. Like literally, it was the tip. They were all in trench coats, so it was like a trench coat convention. They tried so hard to be cool, serious. Like
that's exactly what I said. They tried way too hard to just be cool.
They tried not only the villains, but Ghost Rider was trying too hard.
Yes,
trying too hard to be cool. But like it was so cheesy. Like it was literally the slow, menacing walking, the slow head turning, the eyes, and then the same old.
Well, and also what killed me was like the one-liners. Like they kept saying stuff like he's in the church and the priest comes in and he's like, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned a lot." And they're trying to make it all like this cool one-liner and stuff. And it's just not
only that, but like the main villain and his three henchmen, they look so bad.
They literally look like a high school production of like if they like a fan film. Like it literally looks like a high school theater costumes and stuff. One guy was just wet all the time, which I kept thinking, can you imagine the costume department? Just his costume is just like a costume and then like a bucket, and they just have to keep throwing it on. And I was just
gonna say, like, all right, Earl, hold on right there. It's like, all right, to give it an action. Because literally he's just dripping.
He's dripping every time. So what that means, every single time they started filming him, they had to drench him every time.
And then one of them was like a wind guy. And so
I know.
But like
I thought that was an odd choice as well. Like why are they the element demons? Like they didn't ever say anything about that.
Honestly, one of the villains dies pretty quickly, and I have no idea what his power was either. So, but you knew about water guy and wind guy. But like the wind guy, his face was always, his eyes were always wide. Like he was never just like, you know.
He looked like Steve Aoki.
You can't blow out the wind.
Yeah, let me just do a chain tornado. But anyway, we'll get there.
All right, anyways, Cody, you can start going.
Yeah,
through, we're so bad. We're gonna learn how to be quicker with this. There's just so much to talk about.
There really is. And so, first of all, and like I said, this is not so much. This is very specific stuff that is wrong with it. Like the overall plot. I was trying to explain this to my wife, Amanda, and it was like it just, I couldn't get it across why it was bad, because I was like, the plot, well, like it's okay and it's not bad, well, and then the acting, well, it's not that bad.
The
And
plot's
it was
simple enough, but they
yeah,
complex it too much with its seriousness that halfway through I'm like, you've lost me here.
my first thought was, okay, so in the very beginning, it's Johnny Blaze. He's a stuntman. So is his dad. He's following his dad's footsteps. And my first thought was, why can't this kid be the Ghost Rider? Like, why does he have to be middle aged? Like, this kid was awesome. He was fine.
Because then you wouldn't have gotten Nicolas Cage.
Ridiculous. Okay, I have before we go any further too, I have an alternate casting here. Okay, they should have gone full Guardians of the Galaxy with this. And just made it funny. Like, forget any sort of like, they should have just, because it's so cool. It's supposed to be cool, but when you try too hard to be cool, it has the opposite effect. So they should have had like freaking Jack Black or something as the Ghost Rider.
Well, then whenever the Ghost Rider was in ghost form or whatever, he was trying so hard to be like cool and pun, like he kept trying to do puns, and I'm like, it's so bad.
I think my other problem with the Ghost Rider in general was I felt like it wasn't him. Like, was it like Venom? Like, was it like taking over him? Was it like an alternate thing?
I never figured out is when it's in Ghost Rider form, is it a different persona? Like the Ghost Rider's spirit or whatever's taken over, because it felt like two different people.
It did, yeah. And I think they should have made it more like Venom, where it was clarified. Clear. Yeah, because that was hard.
Honestly, like the mask, you think about the mask, you can clearly tell that those are two different entities. When it's just Jim Carrey, Stanley Ipkiss, his persona is much different. It kind of even like Peter Parker, Spider-Man. You kind of can tell when he's Peter Parker. You can tell when he's Spider-Man.
But I wish they had made it more like where Venom, like he hears the voice and like he kind of is aware that it's a different thing. Like that would have made a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, but when the mask is on, it's someone else. When Venom is its own entity together.
Yeah. I also got the vibe that he didn't really like. He definitely wasn't the guy in the suit, because I feel like he had no idea what the Ghost Rider just did. You know what I mean? Like
it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear.
It was clear.
It wasn't clear enough. And honestly, at times I'm like, is this even Nicolas Cage speaking? Because like, of course they do like.
It wasn't. I don't think it was. I honestly don't think it was.
They did some voice work to make it, of course, sound more.
Even still.
Steamy. Like, but I don't think it was Nicolas Cage. So
I'm almost certain it wasn't.
So honestly, Nicolas Cage hardly did anything in this movie.
Hey, he's all about the money. He'll do basically anything. If we asked him to come on this podcast for $30, he'd probably do it. We should try it.
I tell him to do it with the accent too. Hello there, side quest guys.
Side quest guys. All right. So first of all, the old sequences were just like the lamest stunt show ever. The ramp was like a foot off the ground. You know, when Napoleon Dynamite, he goes, I got like 3 feet of air that time. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I could have done it.
And then his dad supposedly dies from that. It was ridiculous. I was like, there's no way.
Well, not only before that, the whole thing about selling his soul is his dad's got cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got lung cancer because he smokes a lot, and I think
they made that abundantly clear. I felt like they were always like cigarettes.
Well, honestly, one of my notes here is they're in the shop like tuning up their bikes, because apparently it's showing that like, oh, let's just, after we're done with the show, we just tune up bikes just because.
and why is he doing it? They have a team.
So his dad started coughing really, really hard, and so I'm like, coughing. So you grab another cigarette.
That's exactly. You actually wrote that exact thing. I said coughing fit. Let me grab a cigarette.
Like he's hacking out his lungs, and he literally just like grab a cigarette.
And Johnny just goes. Like he's always doing that.
You know, how about you get a cup of water there? So yeah, and then so his dad,
100%.
His dad's dying.
And then he goes in the garbage can, and for some reason he pulls out a crumpled piece of paper, and his doctor sent him a letter saying he has cancer.
Your cancer spread.
But why did he pull the paper out of the garbage? Like it made no sense.
Okay, you know, I don't know. Maybe people do stuff differently in Texas. Don't want to know.
We can't go into it too much, because that's going to be okay. Another thing, when he was in the tent, when he was fixing his bike, and then Satan came to talk to him or whatever. Mm-hmm. You know, when there was like a lightning strike and it had like a devil shadow behind him. It looked like a freaking like a weasel. Like it didn't look like any kind of demon at all. It just looked like looked like Trogdor the Burninator.
So I saw that and I was like, bad image but cool idea. I thought
they could have made that cool. So cool. They could have made him have just like big horns and that's it. Yeah, that would have been really cool, but they didn't.
but yeah, so
It
the
just looks like
devil's
a weasel. I took a screenshot. It took me probably 10 minutes to try to get that exact spot, but I did it, and it looks really dumb.
so the Nicolas Cage character, Johnny Blaze, he's not the first Ghost Rider. Satan's been doing this for a while, like every couple centuries or whatever.
We
It's
get
said
the
in the
little
beginning,
voiceover at the beginning that they explain.
Well, the Ghost Riders have been the devil's servant for centuries. I think
Yeah,
it's probably
basically there was an evil place, and the Ghost Rider was charged with getting their souls.
Yeah,
and he got a contract to get their souls, and then the Ghost Rider decided he didn't want to do that. And so he just took off, and so he was like, I'm going to keep the contract and you don't get the people, which if they were evil, why not? Why wouldn't you want to do that? But okay, whatever. See, and like I said, I think a lot of the problems with this are not Marvel's fault. I think it's the screenplay, like the actual plot of this movie.
Yeah, because honestly, I'm not a huge Ghost Rider fan, so I don't know the comics that well. I don't know his story that well. So if
that was my other thing is I don't know what was like a reference to the comics, so I can't really tell what was weird.
So if you guys know Ghost Rider, put it down in the comments. Like,
I'm sure that if you like Ghost Rider, you didn't love this movie. There's no way.
Well, most people didn't. If you look at the reviews,
statistically,
So dad's dying, but Johnny Blaze wants to run away with the girl that he loves, but they're only 17. You don't know what
they look like 29 in
but 29.
Their actors do,
but they're 17 years old and they're going to run away.
Also, quick note on that: weren't their younger selves like perfectly cast?
Right.
They look so much like the older versions.
And then you go to Nicolas Cage, you're like, oh man, you haven't aged well, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
But they're going to run away, and Johnny Blaze made the deal with the devil because he wants his dad to be cured, but the devil tricked him and pricked his hand. He's like, "Oh, you signed it. That's all you need."
Yeah, that didn't count. How would that count?
So the devil, I was like, freaking devil. Like literally, my notes is freaking devil because he cures his dad's cancer, but then literally the one stunt after that, like the wimpiest stunt ever. Like literally,
it really was. It was
like literally, it looks like his dad just like started going like 5 miles per hour and then teeters over and falls into fire and dies.
Yeah. And then and the funny thing is, I was like, oh, maybe he burned. Like maybe he got burned. But then he goes over to him and like is like hugging him, and he wasn't burned at all. And I'm like, what the heck was that?
And Johnny Blaze is like, you, and he's like, I told you I'd cure him of his cancer. There was a lot of finger pointing.
There was so much.
You, and he's like, and then like the devil with his little
the walking stick thing.
Walking stick, yeah. His cane. He like stomps. He's like, I told you I'd cure him of his cancer, but I didn't say I'd save him.
That's not what I meant. Also, what I think is funny is, what does he gain at all? He's just being a jerk. Like that's just him being mean.
He said I can't have your dad getting in the way.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Of us, and it's like, but it's like, if
you're does he have a crush on Johnny Blaze?
Well, what he said is like, I'm with you all the time. I'm watching you all the time. I've been there the whole time. It's like, well, who cares if he's off in a different state with the girl? Whereas
exactly.
Killing his dad literally is just the typical Marvel soap opera.
And you would think that he would kill the girl
tragedy.
too.
Parent tragedy.
If he was doing that, why wouldn't he kill the girl?
Because it's not Marvel tragedy. We need parents dying for Marvel tragedy.
But again, I am pretty sure that this is the screenplay, because I don't think Marvel would do that. Marvel thinks a lot about their plot and things like that. Also, quick note: did you see Stan Lee in this? I was looking for him.
No, I didn't see him.
That's a sign that it's not a great movie. When Stan Lee is in the Marvel movie.
I can't sit here and defend Marvel a lot at this time, because also I watched something like Daredevil, and that was just as bad.
Yeah, but still, he was in like the old Fantastic Four and stuff like that. The fact that he wasn't in this,
he probably saw this abomination. He's like, I'm going to steer clear of that.
So one of the things that struck me too is Nicolas Cage is not cool enough to play this character. He's just not. We needed someone like freaking Machete or something, someone like that.
I hate his haircut.
His haircut's bad. It's just like, it's just nothing. There's nothing to it. It's just like a random hair. It looks like mine, where it's just like whatever.
You can tell it's dyed hair. It's not his natural hair color, and it's too short because his hair. I don't mean to knock on Nicolas Cage. I think he's a talented actor. I don't know him as a person, of course, but I think he's a talented actor. But like, he's got a long head, and his hair is cut too short, so it just didn't look. His
head looks like an egg.
ill-proportioned. So
Agree. And like I said, he's not cool. It's not cool enough. His name's Johnny Blaze. It's supposed to be the coolest person ever. They should have made this a really young guy. They should have made this like a really like cocky, awesome guy. But they just didn't do any of that. They just were like, it's like they just picked a famous person and were like, let's just make him Ghost Rider.
So his dad dies, and then he's just like all emotionally distraught, and so he just decides not to run off with the girl, and then it literally cuts to him about to do a stunt, and then it cuts to Nicolas Cage, and essentially for like literally the next 20 minutes is Nicolas Cage is trying to figure out why he can survive the worst of the worst stunts. Like he does like the craziest stunts in the world, and he like lands on his head. Like he does a stunt, he lands on his head, and his guy, whatever, his like
his
right
mask
hand guy
breaks and everything.
Like he's on the ground, like he should be paralyzed, he should be dead. The guy comes up to him, takes off his helmet right away. If you see someone injured, aren't we always told leave the body how it is?
Yeah,
but the guy
don't move their head.
The guy rips off the helmet and then he smacks him in the face to wake him up. And I'm sitting there like,
he probably has a concussion.
I'm like, the guy just crashed and you smack him in the face. So that was literally like, I'm like, he crashes and you smack his face? Question mark, exclamation point.
And this is another issue I had. So is he trying to just push the limit of what he can do? Because he doesn't know that the devil's protecting him.
He said he was looking for a sign. So he's trying to see if it's really because he's that good of a stuntman, or because for some strange reason he's being kept alive by something.
That's a weird route to take. Okay,
but that's what Johnny Blaze does.
All right, Johnny Blaze. All right, and then okay.
After that stunt, though, it's the best thing ever is when Johnny Blaze watches TV. And Cody, you can tell me why it's the best thing.
Okay. So this is the most unnatural 30 seconds of this movie. It makes no sense.
I literally put Johnny watches anything on TV.
Okay, so first of all, what kind of cable package does this guy have? The weirdest. He watches like 3 channels, and they're all just really weird. They just make no sense.
And he watches and laughs at it.
Okay, we just have to go into this because I laughed out loud. I went back and I cut that scene. I sent it to people. I was like laughing so hard. So he sits down like instantly. Like, okay, he walks over to the chair, sits down, turns on the TV, and goes. And you look at, he's like pointing at the TV, laughing. And
he hasn't even had time to see what's on TV.
Literally,
he's just laughing.
I'm not joking. It's this fast. Click. Like no reaction time, and you look at the TV, and it's a chimp doing karate.
It's a chimpanzee doing karate,
and like beating a human man at karate. And at the same time, he's listening to the Carpenters on his audio system. So he's just sitting there, and he's like, "Hey, would you turn this off?" His assistant Mac is like, "Will you turn this off?" And he's like, "Don't touch my chimp video again, or we're gonna have problems."
So then he just flips the next channel and starts laughing again, and like
a different show.
Like literally, he changes the channel like 3 times, and it doesn't matter what it is. He's interested, and it's like really like cartoony, weird crap too. Like it makes zero sense.
This is the thing that made me laugh. You either go oddly specific plot device TV show, like when someone turns on the TV and then it's on the perfect news channel to see exactly what's happening, or it's just random. It was both. It was a chimp doing karate, and then it went specifically to the skeleton in the graveyard that is like a foreshadowing for later.
Yeah.
Which I was like, pick a lane. So that was easily the weirdest part of this whole movie. Also, he doesn't drink. He eats jelly beans out of a martini glass, but only red and yellow ones, which I thought was even weirder.
Alcohol gives me nightmares.
Drink a soda, man.
So literally, he's got jelly beans in like a wine glass.
It's a martini glass.
Or is it a martini cocktail? Whatever. Just like,
but that's the part that makes me laugh is that like, so wait, you don't drink, like, you don't have to drink alcohol, but you just don't want liquid of any kind. Like, what's wrong with you, dude?
And why do you have to have it in that glass?
And why is it red and yellow jelly beans?
I don't know.
It was that both times I noticed.
At one point, he's like, "You want my jellies?"
He does not say that. Did I miss that?
Yeah. He's like, "Do you want some of my jellies?" He offers it just so nonchalantly and subtle because like he ignores his assistant, and so his assistant's just going off like, "You crazy? Why are you doing?"
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You want some of my jellies?
Do you know what I love about that? That does not seem like it was in the script. That definitely just seems like Nicolas Cage eating jelly beans on set, and everyone's like, "Just go with it. We don't have time to change this.
We're paying him too much money to argue." So
yeah, that was easily my favorite part of this whole movie. I literally wrote, I wrote chimp karate ! That's all I wrote.
A positive thing. I said the music is good.
It was decent. And I liked that the vibe was kind of like twangy guitar. Like that was cool. It was cool because it just worked, like the Western kind of vibe.
Until it was Ghost Rider, then it was like rock and cool. Or then when he did his fights, it was like,
yeah, but kind of operatic, kind of like almost like demonic-y, churchy. Like it kind of works. Although I will say one thing: wouldn't you have made the Carpenters? Wouldn't you have made that something more country-ish? Like you would think that it would be like.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I don't know. It was funny. I liked the Carpenters thing. That was kind of funny. And
so
then
he go ahead. I was just gonna say, just to move along. I was just gonna say, and then he decides to do a huge event. He's deciding to do like the biggest stuntman jump ever over a football field. From field goal to field goal over,
and that's why he was talking to his assistant. He's like trying to talk him out of doing it because it's suicide.
And for some strange reason, Roxanne, the girl that he left, magically pops up as a news reporter. So, and he gives the most awkward newscast. And I get that it's supposed to be, but like he says 2 words.
It was. This is you're absolutely right. It was supposed to be, but the thing that was annoying was like it didn't even read as like awkward, uncomfortable. It just read as like Nicolas Cage has no idea what's going on the set right now. Like it didn't. It was like weird.
It kept cutting back to this character in the background that we have no idea. It was like, are you a sound person? Or are you like a director of some sort? Like we have no idea who this girl is, but they keep cutting back to her reactions and she just looks nervous.
Did we ever find out who she was?
No, you never see her throughout the rest of the film. You never find out what she does. Like literally, like he's doing his awkward interview. You see her just kind of getting nervous in the background. And then literally once the interview's over, you never see her again. You never knew what she was there for. Why do we have 4 scenes of looking at her face? Don't know.
Why wouldn't it just be the camera guy? Like I don't. It just makes no sense.
I don't know.
But whenever I see stuff like that, I go, "There's probably a deleted scene." I bet you anything there's a deleted scene.
But he does the trick flawlessly, and then he literally drives off to see the Roxanne as she didn't want to see it, and they're off in their vehicle with the camera guy. And he's like doing tricks on his motorcycle on the freeway, just like, "Hey, Roxanne, pull over, and I want to talk to you."
With no helmet.
Like, with no helmet, he's just doing tricks.
Almost runs into a semi.
And so they pulls her over, and like they talk for like 3 seconds, and then he just kisses her.
Holding up like tons of traffic, like 30 cars behind him. And he's like, she's like, "I'm sorry" to them. And he's like, "Oh, they're fine."
Oh no, they're all fine. But literally just kisses her. Like literally my notes was like, just kisses her, question mark.
Yeah, it was clearly no signals that she wanted to kiss him at all.
Which makes no sense because he abandoned her. We don't know how long time has elapsed. Like it didn't give us like the something odd years later.
We know that they were 17, and we know that they're Nicolas Cage's age. So a good 30 years almost, probably.
But like, and she doesn't deny him. Like he just kisses her, and she's just like, whatever.
She was not. I said she was okay. Now the more I'm thinking about it, I had many moments of what's going on.
Idiot. She's an idiot.
I kind of don't necessarily blame her though. Like she didn't have anything written for her at all. She was like a prop almost.
And he's like, "Don't you believe in science? Don't you believe in destiny? I'm going to take you out tonight." And she's like, "No, it's not a good idea." And he's like, "I'm going to take you out." She's like, "Okay, we can go out. There's a place out over here." And so literally he's gonna.
Why did she say yes to that? I wouldn't.
Well, first she said yes to a kiss, didn't say no to that, and then she said yes to a restaurant.
She kind of didn't say yes to the kiss, but sure, whatever.
But she didn't say no. She's just like, and the camera guy's just like, "Oh boy," and so then we're like, okay, whatever. And so then they need to like spice things up, and so the villain starts going around like sucking people's souls out, being like, "Where's the contract?" It's like, contract.
Oh, you know what I thought was funny was they go to the bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they do that stupid one-liner of "It's angels only," and he's like, "Well, good, I'm no angel," or something. But then he goes, "Okay, let's kill every person in this bar." And then clearly he told his demon friends, "Hey, let's meet at this bar." like because they all just show up there, and it makes me laugh because it's like, oh, let's meet at this bar. Don't worry, I'll kill everyone first, and then we'll just be there. There's the wet boy, the gusty boy,
and then who I can't even remember what the other one was.
I don't know.
But honestly, the villains were just laughable. They were just
not good.
Like we said, the trench coat convention where they tried to be so serious that it was just a big joke.
It was like neckbeards. It was like that bad.
And so then what's his name? What's the
Magical Mr. Mistopheles? Oh, Blackheart. Yeah,
Blackheart. So Blackheart's trying to find this contract, and then Satan shows up, and he's just like, "You can't do this." And he's like, "Whatever, Father. I'm better than you, and I'm going to come after you." And he's like, "I'm going to send my rider after." He's like, "Bring it. I'll get him, and I'll come after you." And then he blows Satan away, and so then Satan comes to Nicolas Cage, and he's just like, "I'm calling in my favor," and then his transformation is wacky transformation.
That was so bizarre. I read a trivia thing that it was actually cut quite a bit for basically everywhere outside the United States to keep lower ratings because it was disturbing. Not gonna lie, it kind of was disturbing, but not because of the ways that it was supposed to be, just because Nicolas Cage seemed to very much enjoy getting set on fire from the inside out.
Nicolas Cage was laughing the entire time of transforming into
Dylan's face. Look at Dylan's face. The face in that's him being set on fire from the inside out.
But instead of being turning into the Ghost Rider. I'm in pain. My flesh is melting. I'm becoming skull and flames. He's laughing.
Yeah,
through the whole thing.
I think they're kind of trying to go for that kind of Joker creepy laugh. Like, why is he laughing? Oh, that's scary. But then, so then he turns into the Ghost Rider. His skull is on fire. He's a skull with a leather jacket. His head's on fire. Looks pretty cool. But then his motorcycle turns into the Ghost Rider motorcycle, which was like, like those T-shirts like from the 90s that had like the writing on it. Like, I can't explain it, but basically like no fear. His bike looked like it could be on a no fear T-shirt from the 90s, basically.
While all this is happening, the girl is being stood up as she's drinking tons of wine. So your typical,
exactly, just a plot device. And then remind me what happened with the people that were attacking him. I don't remember why they were attacking him. Oh no, it was the element demons, right? They were like they found him and they were trying to get him.
So he goes after the element demons, and Blackheart's just like, get him. And so like the one guy that we have no idea what he was good for because he literally dies in like 3 seconds. And so then that happens, and there's a chase sequence that lasted forever, but just to show that the girl was still at the restaurant drinking tons of wine, being stood up like literally the whole time.
And I feel like they were trying to do that for comedic effect, and it just did not land at all.
No. And the actors just looked uncomfortable. I have to say, there is no chemistry. There's no chemistry between Nicolas Cage and Eva. There's no chemistry. That's why it doesn't work.
Doing the younger versions? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Not younger versions yet, but Nicolas Cage, Eva.
Yeah.
Mendez, there was no connection.
So funny.
So then like this chase sequence just goes around. She stood up, and apparently Ghost Rider only happens at night. And so when the day happens, he just goes back to his life, but their cops are looking for whoever killed all those people. And they like
at the bar.
So they see all this stuff on the ground. These marks on the ground, and it's sulfur. It smells like sulfur. And like, so the cops go to Johnny Blaze. They're like, you use this at your shows. You must be the killer.
Such a dumb connection to make.
So then
you're the only human with access to this.
Yeah. Oh, and that good cop, bad cop scene was so funny.
So cringy.
Dumb with me.
So cringy.
We know you did it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I did appreciate that he was kind of like, I didn't kill anyone. And then he's like, they're like, tell us the truth. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll tell you the truth. I didn't kill anyone.
And he's just like, honestly, I really commend for what you're doing. In fact, when I'm done with the stunts, I'm gonna devote my time to the motorcycle police force or whatever. And it's just
like really, you're gonna switch careers when you're middle aged after you're being retired from being a stuntman?
So somehow they went from. We had that nighttime thing. He gets arrested in the morning. Apparently, his interview lasts all day because then they throw him in a cell block with like
it's night. Yeah,
and somehow it's night again. They throw him in a cell block with like apparently the worst of the worst.
Which they wouldn't be, but okay.
It wouldn't be. So it's just a ton of people in there, and for some
And
strange
then
reason,
one teenager.
and one teenager, yeah, one teenager, and then for some strange reason, they all look at him like, Johnny Blaze, oh, you should have died or something. Like for some strange reason, everyone in there
They're
somehow
furious at him.
They just hate him for no good. Like, there's no reason. Like, anytime someone talks, it's like, so why do you hate him? And then they all start ganging up and kicking him for no reason.
Literally no reason. It's so true.
So somehow he was interviewed all day. It's nighttime again. He gets beat up for no reason, and then bam, he's the Night Rider, Ghost Rider again.
And then every single person clearly in that cell deserved the death penalty. He killed all of them except for the teenager, and then he's like, "You're a teenager," or whatever he said to them. I don't remember.
He just more point. He could just look into my eyes.
Ridiculous. And the thing that I like, literally, like, what could they possibly have been in there for? Like, maybe like a drug offense, and well, they're dead now. And so it's just ridiculous. And then he leaves the jail, and they're like looking for Johnny Blaze because he's the like only one that's not there. But then, okay. Oh, and then
the Ghost Rider kills the second henchman.
That's right.
Like it's like literally every night is him killing a henchman, getting closer to Blackheart, and then waking up. And we didn't even mention about Sam Elliott, the caretaker. So he just like finds him. He's like, I know what you
it's not that important. Like yet, anyway. Well, I guess it is. No, I guess he is. He kind of explains everything.
Sam Elliott's like, you're cursed, aren't you? What did you make your deal with? I know exactly who you are. And then Nicolas Cage is like, oh, I'm just fine. Oh my god, my head. It feels like my skull is on fire. But other than that, I'm okay.
That's a perfect example of a line where it felt like they might have as well have just looked right at the camera and gone like, you know what I'm saying?
So literally, ridiculous. It's nighttime. He kills a henchman. Wakes up. Sam Elliott's caretaker person's there, in a cowboy outfit, somehow digging graves with a huge mustache, which we all love, but we can't understand.
Gotta love that Sam Elliott.
And then he goes to apologize to Roxanne.
That's right. So it was at this point in the movie where I kind of lost interest completely. Like, at least before, I was kind of like, ooh, like, where's this going to go? And then at this point, I was like, I don't care. Whatever happens, I don't care. If they don't end up together, I don't care. If he doesn't beat the devil, I don't care. He's the devil. Like, I don't think he's going to win. And even if he does win, like, then what? Like, there's no devil? Like, it makes it impossible.
Well, this is just showing how awful the character Roxanne was, because literally he goes to apologize to her.
Oh,
and at first she's like, oh, no, that what you did was awful. She's like, I don't care anymore. I've moved on. I don't care. Whatever. You did that to me back then. You did this to me last night. Whatever. I don't care. And then Nicolas Cage goes off and does his thing. And then Roxanne shows up in his apartment, and then she's like, I probably won't see you again. And so I don't want the things that I said to end the way that I did, like what I said. She like, this guy has done nothing but ruin her life, and she doesn't freaking care. She lets him kiss her. He goes on the date, gets stood
Move
up,
on,
and then goes to his house, and then they just start talking, and then the most awkward kiss scene happens.
I was cringing so bad I could not even watch it. I was looking away.
Like they were making out, but it was so gross. Like literally, it came out of nowhere too, because like the kissing in here is just so like in your face.
It doesn't look consensual. It looks like they just go,
and it was gross. And then Nicolas Cage is like, no. And she's like, I don't get you. When I you stand me up, but I whatever, and I let you kiss me, and I kiss you or whatever, and you say no. Like I don't get you. You've got pictures of us in your house. Like I don't. Tell me, you can tell me anything. It's like, okay, you guys have talked like literally an hour in 2 days after how many years or whatever. And then he tells her, I'm going to deal with the devil. And then she's like, deal with the devil. And then she
really, you expect me to believe that?
Spouts that off, and
it's directly following that, I believe, that there is a police chase scene
upside of a building.
But the way that the officer goes, he's going this way, and then he's like, he's going up.
It's going up. Well, there was one point where he like blasts past a cop who was like checking for speeds, a highway patrolman, and then like it blows the cop away, and then he just goes.
Don't describe that face for those that are listening to the audio version.
Well, it's literally just wide-eyed, mouth out, like if I don't know, if just like wide eyes, wide mouth, it's sudden abrupt turn.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're right. Like every time you say something, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, this okay. Really,
Yeah, we got to wrap up.
we do. But basically, oh, and just one more quick thing. Another like the corny thing was when during the cop thing, when there was like a sign that said garage, and then he Ghost Rider drives past it and breaks it, and it like sparks and whatever, and then it looks back, and the cop's going. And then it just says rage with an arrow pointed to it. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah, it was something else.
Yeah.
Like, so then he evades the cops, and then he goes back to the caretaker, and the caretaker's like, you gotta finish this or whatever. Because Blackheart catches him and like beats the crap out of
That's right.
out of Ghost Rider, and so he's just like, you will get me this the contract, contract, because he beats the crap out of the caretaker. He's like, give me what it is. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he beats the crap out of the caretaker. And
just
then
some cemetery, by the way. This is what we don't know anything about this guy.
And then he beats the crap out of Ghost Rider somehow, and he's like, go talk to the caretaker and get that contract, or the girl dies. So then he goes to him, and he's just like, I'm going to start digging everywhere to find this contract. And then
he's like, no need.
The caretaker breaks the shovel, and it was in there. And then
you find out shovel the whole time.
And then you find out that he was that Ghost Rider that ran away.
Yeah, the original one.
And that ran away,
which made me laugh because they made it sound like if he stops being the Ghost Rider, that someone else has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
exactly.
Davy Jones, like in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, like someone has to be that person. But clearly they don't, because there were two at the same time for quite a while.
And so they're like, all right, we're going to go deliver this contract to this random area and beat Blackheart. And so then the caretaker bursts into flames and shows that he's a Ghost Rider as well. And his horse pops
Favorite
up and
part.
turns into fire.
He looks at the horse and goes, can you keep up? And then the horse just goes and turns into fire. See, this part was like, this felt like a good movie. This is one of those times when I was like, is this a good movie?
Yeah, but get where it's stupid is if they ride off to this area to go find Blackheart, and then the caretaker's like, well, I could only have transformed one more time, and so he goes off and disappears. And it's like,
I know.
And it's like, you did all of that not to even help him. Like, you get there, it's like, let's have a talk.
Stay transformed.
Let's have a talk as a Ghost Rider, and maybe I could even, like, just travel there, transform into a Ghost Rider, help out. Instead, it's just like, we had a nice talk. I'm a Ghost Rider.
Bye.
And I disappeared. Bam.
I did think it was weird. At first, I was like, wait, why did you even transform if you were just going to leave? But then it was like, oh, were you showing him the way? Like, you could just point or like tell him where it is. You don't have to show him. That's
what I thought too. Maybe it was the way, but
they weren't going on a road. They could just go, it's this way. Let's go.
I don't know.
Very weird. I totally agree. They should have had Sam Elliott, because I think how cool it would have been to see him in the devil at the end. Like,
yeah, it would have been
it's
cool.
You, and he's like, yeah, it was me. That would have been cool.
Yeah, but literally, he's just like, here's the way, and he turns around and disappears. He's like, all right, bye.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm doing this by myself. All right. Okay, and then he goes into this old town. This is the San Venganza.
But somehow there's a swamp right in front of that small town.
It's a freaking desert, and then there's just like a swamp right next door.
Yeah, and then he has to fight the water guy. I didn't even think
about that. That just didn't even occur to me.
Like literally, if you see in the background, like complete desert, swamp, city.
Well, the water guy needed to be somewhere, and I wonder if that was an editing thing. Like, I feel like that should have been somewhere else in the movie.
It was bad.
Yeah. So he gets into this old ghost town, San Venganza, which means Saint Revenge, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, cool.
But he gets into this old ghost town, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, we're gonna finish this, and he has the contract or whatever. Which, I don't, again, why would he bring it to him? But so they're there, and he has, oh, that's right, because he has the girl. So the girl's there too. And then
they fight, kind of.
They release the 1,000 demons. Which that was probably the worst CGI in the whole movie.
I am Legion. So bad.
I wanted that to be the effect was cool. One thing that I liked about the demons throughout this was that they looked human until they like had extreme emotions, and then you kind of started to see demons come out. That was actually kind of a cool thing that they did, but it was just it's like glitter on a turd. Like, it's fine, but yeah, I wish it wasn't a turd. Yeah,
still
exactly.
a turd.
So then we didn't even talk about the penance stare. Basically, Ghost Rider's job is to like basically make you die forever, sends you to hell.
He guilt trips you. Literally, he looks at you. Look into my eyes.
He's like, I'm sorry, Ghost Rider.
And then he guilt trips whoever. Like, you feel the pain of whoever you've done wrong against.
Yeah, and then what? You're dead.
And so then,
and then what?
Then I did like the effect of where it shone
that was
out.
Cool.
There was like these holes and fires. Like, it looks like the end butt of a cigarette, but then
you zoom out. Yeah,
and it's the person's eye. So like all the guilt of what they've done to that person just like literally kills them.
Yeah,
so,
there were some cool visuals, like when he originally appears and it's like raining sparks and stuff. Like that was there were some cool effects like that, but it was just wasted on this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically these 1,000 souls that were part of the contract get released. They go into Mr. Mistopheles, the Black
Heart.
And then after that, he has souls, and so he's like, oh good, I can kill you with the penance stare now because I couldn't before. And then he's dead.
After he gets a shotgun blast, like,
oh yeah, why would that work? Like with a regular shotgun, like it wasn't even the magic Ghost Rider shotgun. It was just like she was shooting him with a gun, and it was working pretty well.
And then it does turn into a magic shotgun with the final blast.
Eventually,
yeah. Shotgun is a shotgun's what did it. So and then the stare killed him, and they were like, okay, that's over.
Yep.
And then they make out again, super weird. And then
the stupid blue fire whenever he sees her.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not afraid. And it's like, girl, you don't know a dang thing. You've been brain dead this whole movie.
She's like, my hero.
Like
literally was like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the devil shows up. He's like, well, you fulfilled.
He's like, good, thanks. Yeah, you did it.
You did your thing. There are plenty of other greedy, desperate souls out there that can do it. Your curse is free. And then Nicolas Cage is like, no, I think I'm going to stay for a sequel. So you can't have my power. Yeah, he points to him. You can't have my power. And
he gets real mad.
And he's like, I'm going to do everything I can with this power to stop you. And the devil's like, you're going to regret that. And then disappears.
Bye. I'm not going to fight you with my Satan powers.
And then Roxanne is just like, like Ghost Rider's like, I'm sorry that this happens. And Roxanne's like, no, this is you. And I get that this is you. But why does everything you do have to be putting you farther away from me? It's like, why is this so bad?
The main thing is this is a bad movie. I don't know if you've caught that. This is bad.
So bad. This is a bad comic.
And that's the end. That was the end.
That was the end. Yeah, it was totally trying to set up for a sequel, which it did.
I guess
there's just a sequel.
I only know one thing from the sequel, which is he pees fire. Apparently.
Oh,
which
Spoiler.
I really don't want to watch that. No. We might have to eventually, but hopefully not.
Apparently, someone told me today that the sequel makes the first one look so much better. So, who knows?
Oh boy.
Who knows?
If you've seen the second one, let us know. Tell us if it's really that bad. Okay, so above all, easily not the worst one we've seen.
No.
I think Cats is still the winner of the worst one we've seen.
Wow, I don't think anyone's topping Cats.
No one's beating that anytime soon. But for now, I would say this is a skip-worthy film for sure.
A film that I had lived my entire life without watching. It's skip-worthy. Like, as humorous as it is watching a Nicolas Cage film, it's depressing seeing what Marvel has been for so long, which is great, and then going back and looking at something that's just so bad. It's rough. It's rough, especially like if you sit there like, oh, they're still figuring out comic book movies back then. No, we've had Spider-Man, we had Batman. That had nailed it previously. So
if they had taken more of it, they kind of tried to make it comedy, and
Rebel Wilson's in it. She's a goth
just for a second, and she was actually pretty funny. Yeah, weirdly funny. But they tried to make this comedy, and like at least in some parts, and it flopped so hard because they wouldn't stop trying to just be cool. And if they had just focused on the comedy, I think it could have been so good. It could have, like I said, Guardians of the Galaxy. Like if they'd cast like a Jack Black or someone like that.
I've got it. Okay. This was Marvel trying to tune into their inner DC. Like think about what DC is doing exactly right now.
Yeah.
And why DC has failed. It's too serious. It's too dark. It takes itself too seriously. Therefore, it's humorous, but all in the wrong ways.
Exactly.
Marvel found its stride of being light and playful. Yet it can have its intense, serious, heart-to-heart, tear-jerker moments. But you're still laughing throughout the film because it's good humor and it knows what it needs to do. This was what DC's been right now. Which
that's a perfect way of putting it.
There's a reason why it's not working. So Marvel struggled before they found their stride.
Absolutely. So do not watch this movie if you haven't already. You definitely don't need to now if you listen to us. But for now, if you have any suggestions for future movies or anything like that, make sure you let us know. You can send us an email at sidequestguys@gmail.com. Send us a DM on social media. We're at SideQuestVids everywhere. And above all, make sure you find us on YouTube if you're listening to this, or subscribe to the podcast version if you're watching this. We'll keep posting videos. While we're in quarantine, we're probably just going to mostly do this, but we post all kinds of videos all the time.
We still got a lot coming on both ends. Like the podcast is still going to continue even when things calm down, and our YouTube channel will be both hosting these podcasts, but also our normal fun videos eventually when we can get there. We got a lot to bring.
We really do. Yeah. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Make sure to send in your suggestions and your comments about the next movie. We can't wait.
I really hope that you liked. I really liked Nicolas Cage, and
thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for Skipworthy Cinema and
Over now
and Con Air.